presidential election. I was an independent at the time, and it became apparent to me and crystal clear where my principles and values lay on the political spectrum, and I became to become more involved in the process. I was the vice president of the Washington County Republican Club in 2011. I earned Republican of the Year honors for all the efforts and progress that the club was able to make. I'm currently commissioner in the Housing Authority of Washington County. I sit on the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I'm also a board member of the Tri-County Council. I'm running because I believe government has gotten too big and bloated. It needs to be cut, and I believe in individual liberty, and I think those two don't go hand in hand. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Good morning, Hagerstown. Nice to be with you today. I'm Robin Ficker, former state legislator, an attorney who's been coming to court here regularly in Hagerstown for 30 years, negotiating settlements with those tough Washington County prosecutors. I'm the only person up here who has an honorable discharge from the U.S. Army. I'm glad to see David Brinkley here today. I thought he had passed away because his literature says that he's a lifetime resident of District 6, and I know he doesn't live in District 6 now. He can't even vote for himself. I've been leading the fight against the gas tax. I was the only person up here to testify against it, even before the governor did, down in the state Senate. Handed over hundreds of emails from you residents against the gas tax, and I know if we make the Maryland gas tax twice that of Virginia, our jobs are going to move to Virginia. I'm not running for Congress. I'm running for Congress and jobs. I have a degree in engineering, 3 children, a master's in public administration, and I'm inviting all of you to come down to Capitol Hill in January, and we're going to kick off a new era for Hagerstown. Thank you, candidate.
Candidate James.
Hello, my name is Peter James. I do live in the New District in Germantown, Maryland, where I started a robotic farm based on renewable energy systems and something I call Just Money, which is an alternative currency. Thanks for the turnout. This is the best one we've had so far. You must be at least interested. But I came with a present today. And I'm sorry to say, though, this will be the only pork I'm going to be bringing you until next Christmas ham. And this is my little buddy, the Muppet, which Goldman Sachs is now calling all of us Muppets. Ask a British friend if you want to know what that means. My main focus is in line with Andrew Jackson's main focus. He ran on a second term on one issue only, and that was the end the central bank. And he did that, and he was the only president where our country had zero public debt. And if all the other candidates are going to go to Congress and create jobs, I call that nonsense. The only power Congress has is to create a sound money system, and every time throughout history where there's been prosperity for hundreds and hundreds of years, there's been a sound, just money system. And you need to go to my website. This is like, well, thanks anyway. Go to my website, Peter James 2012.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming and Chamber for putting on the event. My name is Joe Christoforski. I'm running for Congress, as everybody else up here is. I first came down to Washington County in 1986. I came down in 1986 with the Citibank, up on State Line Road to bring jobs to Washington County, and we brought 2,000 jobs to the county in the period of 10 years that we've been there. After that, I went on to Card Establishment Services, which is an offshoot of which was sold out from City Hall, and we brought another 800 jobs here to Washington County. and then First Data Corp was a spin-off of that. In 2006, I addressed a group in Washington County where I said, terrorism is a threat to national security, but it's not the only threat we face. One of the greatest threats we're going to face is an economic one. I talked about jobs disappearing. I talked about the devaluation of the dollar. I talked about the possibility of Standard & Poor's devaluating credit rating, which they have. 4 years later, we're in a situation where the debt is climbing and we're no better off. Fiscal accountability is my top priority, reducing the national debt, cutting spending, energy self-reliance, and addressing some of the immigration issues that we're dealing with, primarily enforcing our current immigration laws. Joe Christoforski, 35 years experience in information technology, banking, education, and finance. I've worked companies public, and I've worked companies private, public companies private. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Brandon Ripken. Thank you for having us here this morning. I see we have some students here with us. I asked them earlier if they were missing school today, and they said yes, but just a little bit. So maybe get a note or two for their tardiness, I would assume. Good morning again. My name is Brandon Ripken. I am a businessman. I am not a career politician. I am the only candidate up here with experience managing and operating a $100 billion company. I am from the private sector. I understand the real world economy. I understand domestic economics, and I understand how difficult it is out there for individuals to make a living nowadays. My campaign is focused on job creation, and it's private sector job creation. The only jobs the government creates are more government jobs, and we don't need those. We need private sector jobs. I understand the future of Washington County and all of District 6 depends on private sector investment, private sector developments, promoting savings and investments, simplifying the tax code. We have to get this economy jump-started, and it all starts by putting a businessman, not a career politician, in office. Thank you.
I'm going to move in now to the question and answer session. Again, as I stated earlier, each of the candidates were sent these 8 questions. We'll have 3 rounds of questions. Each question will have 3 answers. So 3 candidates will answer each question. As you saw during the opening statements, there are 2 for the purpose, so the audience can understand the timing. There is 90 seconds to answer the question. You'll see at 30 seconds a yellow card from the front table be raised up and ultimately red whenever it's your 90 seconds is up. So with that, we will pull randomly each of the candidates, so it's in no specific order, and we will start with question 1 at this point. Other thing I wanted to do, I missed this during the opening remarks. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome the Washington County Public School students that are here and thank Potomac Edison for their support and for making that possible this morning for those students to be with us. The first candidate will be Delegate Afzali, and the question, Delegate, will be: businesses thrive on predictability and are crippled when regulatory and tax environments change. What will you do to create an environment of predictability for the Washington County businesses?
Well, part of the challenge I believe we have with our economy right now is confidence. And a lot of that's coming from the top. It's coming from the presidency. I am hoping that we will replace the president with a new Republican president. Obviously, I'm a Republican. I think that will help the confidence a lot, which in turn will help to free up the money supply, which is a huge factor right now. If you own a small business, I own a small business, money is very tight, banks are very tight in lending, and that's creating problems and liquidity issues for local businesses. Another issue facing Western Maryland, including Washington County, is the Marcellus Shale issue. I am a firm believer that we need to use an all of the above approach when it comes to energy independence. We need all kinds of energy, including renewables, but especially our local fossil fuels. Our congressman has been against drilling and has repeatedly voted against drilling in the United States, in the Gulf, as well as in the Anwar Reserve up in Alaska. I am a firm believer that we need to environmentally, safely drill for these fossil fuels to make sure that we can heat our homes and run our cars while we are still exploring those other methods. So that will be a huge factor in helping improve the economies out here in Washington County, as well as, again, lowering the corporate tax rate. So,
Thank you, Kennedy.
thank you.
Second person to answer that question will be candidate Christoforski.
Thank you. Predictability. Taxation, regulation, and litigation they all have to be somewhat predictable. We have to reduce and stabilize the corporate tax rates. Corporate tax rates in the United States are way too high. We have to bring them down to bring businesses back into the country and to get foreign businesses even to invest in the country and bring those businesses into Washington County. Simplify and eliminate regulations. Regulations are overly complicated. Dodd-Frank bill that was passed will create regulatory agencies that we have yet to see the number of agencies that will come out of that. We need to repeal Dodd-Frank in order to have predictability. We need policies to reduce the effect of cumulative regulation. Regulation on top of regulation on top of more regulation. We have to simplify it all. We have to cut the red tape that's involved in businesses growing, getting financing, and coming into Washington County and coming into Maryland as a whole. And we have to protect businesses from government interference. Government has to get out of business. Government does not belong in business. Thank you.
Thank you. Third one, candidate Koblenz.
Thank you. To create an environment of predictability for Washington County businesses, first we need to stabilize the environment, and we do that because government should be a partner, not an adversary. Right now, businesses are getting squeezed from every angle and being punished for success. Small businesses are the backbone of our economy and will be the engine for economic prosperity. So we need to unleash the American people and American businesses. Predictability is one of the most attractive assets that we can have for entrepreneurs to feel comfortable and confident in investing in new businesses and existing businesses. It attracts workers. It gives folks off unemployment because they feel comfortable and confident looking for a job. And the way that we can do that is for a clear incentives program. We need to empower local government to make and develop incentive policies that will best for the local needs and not over-regulate an industry. We need transparent government and allow consistent policies to cut costs of fees and unleash the American people. We need a tax modernization, which will allow businesses to save money and place the extra savings into the economy, which will create and grow jobs.
Thank you. The second question has to do with technology transfer. The federal government invests an enormous amount of research money into Maryland through military installations, federal labs, and grants to academic institutions. How can we better leverage this investment, commercialize the resulting technologies, and create private sector jobs in Washington County? The first response will come from Congressman Bartlett.
Of all the areas that you've addressed here, this is probably the one that could be most beneficial to Washington County. When I worked for the federal government, I was awarded 19 patents. The government had what was called shop rights. And I had all commercial rights to those patents. That's not what we have today. And there is a disincentive to patent things if you work in a government contract. Because the government takes that patent and they might not even give you a license to practice the patent. So one thing you need to do is change the patent law so it's Bigman said that you can share the benefits of your invention. I supported ARPA-E. ARPA-E looks at doing for energy what DARPA has done for defense. The federal government identifying areas where the private sector will not